Welcome everybody to our, this is our fourth Career Explorations webinar. And today we're gonna have a special guest, a Portland native, Johnny R. Gill Jr. He is a Vernon owl and he is a Jefferson grad. So we are going to actually give him the floor so he can talk a little bit about his story and tell us about being Black in Hollywood, and we will just continue from there. So you have the floor.
Cool beans, cool beans. First of all, hello to everybody. I think looks like we have 7 non-video participants. So hello to you guys that I can't, see your faces. My name is Johnny Ray Gill, originally from Portland, Oregon. Obviously, the real Portland, Oregon. Northeast. Born and raised by Concordia College, Woodlawn Park. Everybody knows the deal around there. I went to Vernon, went to Whitaker, which is now no longer there, much to my chagrin. I remember going across that bridge growing up. And then I went to Jeff, Upward Bound, Mesa, the whole 9 growing up. So born and raised in Portland, not from Beaverton or Lake Oswego, which is what I find out a lot. When I'm out in LA and around the country, people say they're from Portland and then come to find out they live by the Nike campus. Actually, what I'm going to do, would it be okay if I unmute some of the people that's on here? The video people, I want to feel their energy.
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Fantastic. So, yeah, after that, but basically I'm an actor, filmmaker. Currently, I actually just got an email from a director a feature that I just did called Rollers, a comedy that I'm starring in. It just got picture locked today, so hopefully that'll be on in the festival circuit next year. Things are kind of crazy out of whack right now, obviously because of COVID. Obviously if the NBA is trying to figure out how they can play basketball games, we're trying to figure out how we can shoot films and shoot TV shows with hundreds of people on set, people kissing and doing all that kind of stuff. So we got to figure that out. So things are really uncertain right now. But also I've got 2 films, one I directed and starred in, another one that I shot in London that's on the festival circuit right now. We're screening with San Francisco Black Film Festival. Hopefully in the next week or so, I'll be able to announce Black Star Film Festival, one of the biggest African-American film festivals in the world. We got into. Hopefully I'll be able to announce that coming up. Martha's Vineyard Film Festival, which is where we're going to be doing. So we got some exciting things popping off. In the past, I'm known for Underground, WGN's Underground, with Journey Smollett and Aldous Hodge. Myself starred in, crushed off with that. Brain Dead on CBS. Harry's Law with Kathy Bates. Snowfall, Chicago PD. You've seen me around. Rectify. So, I get around repping for the town. But to back up, I kind of went the academic route. A lot of people, wake up one day and think they're an actor or a filmmaker, They see people, or they think they see us making a lot of money. So, they get that, money dream, I like to call it. Like, oh, yes, I think I want to be a singer, or a rapper, an actor, so they can, try to get paid. But I went the academic route. Went to USC for a year. I was in their cinema program, then transferred to Temple, graduated from there with a dual degree in theater and filmmaking. And then I just kind of rolled the fate dice like I was shooting craps. I applied to a bunch of graduate filmmaking programs, NYU and NYU Singapore, a bunch of those. And then I figured I'd try out for conservatory because acting was just a hobby for me at the time. I got, discovered because I was a spoken word poet when I was at Jeff. I used to perform around, and then when I went to college, I would be on the spoken word tour with like a lot of the deaf poets and stuff. So I was at a show in Philadelphia, and my eventual spoken word as performance poetry teacher saw me. And was like, you should try this acting thing. And I was like, I guess, sure, why not? You know what I mean? It's not that, I guess it could be pretty cool. And I auditioned for an August Wilson play called Jitney. People now know who August Wilson is. Thank you very much. Thank you to Denzel for Fences and all that. And the rest was history. So I got into all the best conservatories, Yale, NYU, UCSD with the La Jolla Playhouse, and I decided to go to UCSD because it was the least expensive. I had a lot of student loan debt, so I couldn't really take on any more. And from UCSD, did 3 years there, and then did the showcase, got an agent, and came to LA and started rocking and rolling. So that's where I'm at right now. Jay, I don't know if you want to open it up for questions, or we can start wherever you feel like would be most beneficial for the folks here, on the Zoom call. Because I can talk about myself all day or talk about anything that I find necessary, but I want to give you guys the information that you guys feel would be necessary for you guys' journeys. Because there's a lot of misconceptions, there's a lot of misinformation. You'll come to some people's houses that you've seen on TV down here all the time and think that they got a mansion and they in a 1-bedroom apartment. Some people, it's because it's on purpose for their financial strategy plan. Other people, like I'm the voice of Hog Rider for Clash of Clans, and people think that you make a lot of money with that stuff, and some of that stuff is non-union. You meet a lot of people that don't know how to navigate contracts. They don't know how to, they don't know what other career opportunities there are outside of being an actor or director or a producer. And there's I'll never forget one of the films that I was sound designing when I was on Rectify, one of my shorts. I got it sound designed at, and if you don't know anything that I'm saying, just ask. I got it sound designed at this place called Todd AO. It's a big sound design firm. I walked in and they were doing Game of Thrones and Family Guy and all this stuff. And in the parking lot, it was nothing but Ferraris. And the Ferraris weren't for the actors, okay? It was for these old, out of shape sound designers because they be getting paid. So, there's a lot of ways to make money. And, for a lot of people that look like us, they think that there's only 4 or 5, NBA, NFL, try to sing or try to be cute and act or model or something like that. And there's a lot of ways to get on. So, like I said, I want to answer as many of your questions as I can. And, we can just have a dialogue.
Well, first,
go ahead. Go ahead, Lee.
I was just gonna say first, bro. I think I recognize you in Chicago PD. I think you was a D-boy on Chicago PD.
Yeah.
I know you working with Eric, and I think you was working with the other brother. God, it's a shame I can't think of his name right now. But I remember seeing you on there. One time I tried to send some music. I tried to link up with Spike Lee to send him some music, and I actually got his voicemail and left a message, and then I tried again, whack. And then I remember seeing something shortly after that. It was an interview where he said basically that's not the right approach to trying to present your work. There are other options. So you talked about that. Talk about like perhaps some of the different ways of how one can connect and what the requirements are in terms of maybe having a Screen Actors card or some other things.
So you said send him some music. So are you a composer, a beat maker? Like,
I compose. I mean, I sing too, but I haven't been doing much of that. But I compose, and I just thought some stuff I had would have been perfect for some of the projects. But then we all think that way, right?
That's true. I would say hitting up Spike Lee and trying to get his voicemail would be the equivalent of like calling Halle Berry and asking her on a date for her voicemail. Right. And so I think a lot of us, because we live in a very narcissistic, not to say that you are, but I think we live in a narcissistic culture in and of itself. And what I mean by that is everybody's got a Facebook page. Everybody's got an Instagram page. So they think their perspective is so incredibly important. That's why we have a reality TV star as the president, because people wake up and say, I can do this thing that they might not, necessarily know all the ins and outs for. So first off, I would tell you is the first part of your journey should be defining exactly what you are. Are you a composer? Do you make beats? Are you trying to get in on the hip hop scene? Are you trying to make beats for them? Are you trying to be a composer for TV and film? You understand what I'm saying? Are you trying to do that for theater? So whatever that is, make sure you're real and materials reflect that. So when folks get it, they can, they know exactly what your lane is. So if you are a composer, I would say there's probably tons of people you can go to. I know you can check out Mandy.com. I know you have productionhub.com. I would tell you just start composing your ass off for short films, documentaries, whatever you can get your hands on. I literally found the Seti Jensen, the guy that composed my last project. He's from Australia, white dude from Australia. And magically I'm able to find him here in LA because his website is tight, his work was fresh. And so now we collaborated. And unfortunately for people that look like us, I literally was just on a Zoom call with a bunch of prominent Black producers and cinematographers and all that down here in Hollywood. And we were discussing some ways that we can, rectify everything. And one of the hardest things is on the indie circuit, you want to work with Black animators. You want to work with a Black composer. You want to work with Black editors. But unfortunately, there's sometimes not a lot of folks apply. And then the people that do apply, sometimes they stuff be whack. And I can't just work with somebody who's whack just because they Black. That's not how it works. So I would say make sure your stuff is tight, and then just put yourself out there. Like, get yourself out on and start doing it, because your work will speak for itself. Like, if you're like, and then all we do is just share the dope people that we worked with, especially if they're a person of color, especially if they're a woman. You go, yo, I couldn't wait to find this person. So now you have access to everybody's full network. You understand what I'm saying? So I would say, instead of hitting up Spike is going to find you. I say that all the time about my career. I mean, me and Anton Fuqua get our haircut at the same spot. We talk, we hang out when we at the barbershop. Not one time have I said, yo, Fuqua, anyway, I can audition for, that movie. That's not how it works. If anything, they kind of look at you sideways like, bro, I'm just trying to get my haircut. You feel me? Right. I always feel like the synergy I feel like my work is great enough that I will meet him when we are equals in that same space, as opposed to me looking to him trying to get put on. You understand what I'm saying? So I would say just rock out. And like I said, brother, if your stuff is tight, you should be doing as many short films as you can. Don't be, if you got to do them for free, especially if they beats and stuff you've already done, you don't have to license them out to where they get complete control of it. But it's like, hey, look, man, here, if you want to use this music here for this particular scene, fantastic. And then that's how you build your reel. And the next thing you know, you might work with somebody in Portland. Then that person works with somebody in LA. And then all of a sudden now your stuff is going all around the world. And, like I said, I just did a film in London. All of a sudden you go, yo, I know this cat named Lee in Portland. Yo, check out his stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then now you own for real. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I appreciate that, bro. Appreciate it.
So Johnny, when you left Jefferson, you had your plan for what you wanted to do for your career. Did you have a plan? And like, how did you come up with your roadmap? And did you have mentors along the way?
Yeah. I think I knew I needed higher education. I knew I needed to be trained. The roadmap was to try to get the information that white people had. To be honest with you, for a large contingent of us, like, I had never really studied Shakespeare or anything like that in depth, and any of the classics and things like that. So I always had this thought in my mind, especially after I transferred from USC and I really started going inside myself and figuring out what it is that I was put on this planet to do. It was just real talk. I was like, well, shoot, ain't nobody trying to see me in Philly. So why would I move to New York or LA? That's stupid. Ain't nobody trying to see me in Portland. So why would I move to New York or LA? That's stupid. Again, I think people have this idea. They hear these stories like, I was in the McDonald's and, Johnny got discovered when he was eating a taco. Like, no, that's not how it works for the vast majority of us. You understand what I'm saying? The vast majority, and that doesn't even take into account racism, sexism, nepotism, all those isms that get people on. I don't think, no offense to Ice Cube's son, but does anybody think that Ice Cube's son is in movies for any other reason besides the fact that he's Ice Cube's son? That stuff that stuff plays a part. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to go get training because I think it's easy to get on TV one time. You know what I'm saying? I think it's easy to get into an ad one time. But, you know, for me, my goal was I want to have a Tom Hanks career. I want to be around for 20, 25 years, 30 years. You feel me? You want to have a body of work that speaks to, that speaks to the human experience and speaks to, you know, being an artist. And I think for all of you guys listening, I think the best advice that I can give is one that Ralph gives in Letters to a Young Poet. And it's everyone a lot of people look to the outside to find their mission on the planet, when really you have to go inside yourself. And some people are masquerading and saying they want to be, you know, an actor when they really should, when their real love is being a chef, or when their real love is being an engineer, or when their real love is being these other things. So you have to go inside yourself and figure it out, you know, what it is that you're built here to do. What do you love to do? What is your vocation? And then go after that outside of money, fame, prestige, and all this stuff. And you'll come to find out, like a lot of people do, that there's a lot of ways to get paid in this country that ain't got nothing to do, you know, with entertainment, ain't got nothing to do with being in the NBA. I mean, even if you want to be in the NBA, or in the NFL, or in entertainment, there's so many jobs. You know, in the NBA, you could be a general manager, you could be an agent, you can be a scout, you can be, you know, a numbers guy, an analytics guy. In entertainment, you could be a cinematographer, an editor, an animator, a gaffer, a grip. And all these jobs all these careers that I've said, they make tons of money. You know what I'm saying? We need so many more people of color and women and stuff behind the camera. I mean, look at what's happening with Insecure and some of these other shows that have female directors, female cinematographers, people really getting the opportunity to, you know, put their mark on the industry. So, you know, I definitely think you got to have a plan, especially if you're already out of high school. Because, you know, I remember, I don't know how similar things are now from when I was coming out of high school, but once you get out of high school, like, you kind of get left behind a little bit. There's not a lot of resources out there for you. They're not just trying to just lace you with scholarship and stuff like that. Colleges and universities aren't chasing you down. So you really just got to, like I said, know what it is you want to do. And what did Gary Vee say? I think he said something about the biggest thing that you can have is not courage or determination or any of that kind of stuff. It's self-awareness. I am 5'7". I'm not going to the NBA. Sorry. It's never going to happen. That's called self-awareness. I meet a lot of people and they talk about what's that thing? Everything is possible. No, everything's not possible. Some people, if you're not good at math, then you're not going to be able to do certain things. You see what I'm saying? You have to figure out what your strengths are. And again, what you're called to do on this planet. What is that thing that drives you, that gets you up in the morning, that you're going to be excited to partake in? You feel me? So.
Yeah.
So, in an age where people now are
questions.
Oh, okay. So let's ask a question in the chat. Read it out loud.
Oh, me? Okay. What do you enjoy?
I can. Okay. What do you enjoy more, writing, acting, or directing? And for the young BIPOC, high school students figuring out what qualities should you have within yourself for each prospective profession?
Okay. Do they mean each prospective profession as in writing, acting, directing? What qualities do you need to have for that? You can respond, but you can respond while I'm answering, but they're all like different suits, to be honest with you. Sometimes on Friday you want to wear a pinstripe. Sometimes on Saturday you want to have no tie. Other times you want to, you know, wear the burgundy joint. It really just depends. So I'm just a storyteller. I feel like I'm right for different stories for different reasons. Some stories I want to direct. Some stories I, you know, want to just write on, and other stories I want to do, you know, all three or just act. So, you know, there's that. And I think that you just have to, for each of those, you have to have a fresh perspective, I think. I think you have to have a story that you want to tell, or a unique perspective that you can give. And if you see some of the, you know, I'm watching this show now on HBO. It's just sometimes the Brits, man, they really just know how to just make us look foolish. But anyway, It's a show called I May Destroy You. with the young lady that was in chewing gum, and it's one of the most fantastic, non-sensational, in America we do a great job of propaganda and kind of shows leaning towards one agenda or not. Like, this is the Black woman show, so we're gonna make it all about Black women or white guys or this, that, and the third. Where she's just telling a great story, and it comes from her perspective. Like, she was sexually assaulted or raped at some point in her life, and she's telling the story from that way. But it's not a story that vilifies any one person or anything else. It shows so much nuance and depth, and it's just something that I would love to be a part of. But anybody who wants to write, act, or direct, I would say watch that show. Again, go inside yourself. What kind of stories do you want to tell? What's your perspective? To go back to that same book that I referenced earlier, Letters to a Young Poet, he always talks about, use your environment. And if you can't use your environment to tell the stories that you want to tell, then maybe you're not as good at what you want to do as you think that you are, because there's stories right outside your window. There's stories inside your family. And I mean, if you look at some of the, most prominent cats, Issa's telling from her perspective, Tyler Perry telling from his perspective, Michaela telling from her perspective. Martin Scorsese telling from his perspective. So I think you just have to have perspective, and have a great story that you want to tell.
So
I noticed that. I'm sorry, sister.
Oh no, go ahead.
You had mentioned British filmmakers. I've seen a lot of their work, and I see us in a lot of their work. In fact, I see us in their work a lot more than I see in Hollywood. Outside of the fact that some of the stars that we appreciated, Morris Chestnut, God, I can't think of a lot of people, but outside of some of our stars who are now venturing into production and directing, on the British side, they are pushing forward a lot of our people of color in their work. I think you kind of touched on it. Could you share just a little bit more what you see in that dynamic?
I think it's tough. I think it's tough with the British. I have very specific thoughts on the British invasion. I think that they're romanticized in a lot of ways if they're trained in ways that American Black actors aren't trained, which is a fallacy, because I'm a trained actor. A lot of my friends went to Yale, Juilliard, you can go down the list. I think that unfortunately, in the Black cinema space, we tell stories a lot differently than they tell in London, or even from a Latin perspective, or a Hollywood in general perspective. A lot of our stuff is romantic comedies and things that require, kind of a certain skill set. And it doesn't seem like we in our community very much value training. But that kind of, comes from this idea that, people just want to be celebrities and all that other kind of stuff. But, the British folks are really talented. They do some great work, but they also do some shit work too. I was over there and seen some plays and stuff. So, they're not just the greatest of the great. So hopefully we get to a point where the diaspora can collaborate together. That's what I would love to see. I would hope to see, brothers and sisters from the continent, from the UK, from the Caribbean, from America, all being able to collaborate and work on, stuff together. So hopefully that'll be something that, happens, a little bit down the line. There's a question right here. What do you do to build confidence? As an actor, I can see your face. Yes. No. Yeah. Okay. Just getting out there and doing it. Fucking doing it. Because once you get the dopamine in you, once you get on stage, once you see the lights and you know that you can do it, I remember, I think the play that I did when I really knew that I could do it, as I was doing Top Dog Underdog, it's a play by Susan Lloyd Parks, fantastic play. Jeffrey Wright and Don Cheadle did it on Broadway, and then Jeffrey Wright and Mos Def did it later on. It's a 2-person play, and I think it's 120 pages, which is crazy, because I remember the first time I started, I was like, how am I going to even memorize all this? What's gonna, and there's a line at the end of the play after Booth kills, because the characters are called Lincoln and Booth, and so Booth, it's a metaphor, kills his brother and all that. there's a line where it literally says Y-E-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A-A, and it says it for like, and I was like, what is that? And then you do the play, you go through the rehearsal process, and then you do it, and you're like, I was like, wow. There's moments on stage where you're like, I have the audience in the palm of my hands. I can do this. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it comes from just doing it, exercising the muscle, because you're going to be nervous. Everybody's nervous. I be nervous when I be on set sometimes, you know. I remember when I was on True Blood, I was nervous. They asked me to do some ADR, and everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, oh, shoot, okay, let me go ahead and. So I think just doing it, and then also you have to have that internal thing that says you shit. You know, I think I think you have to have that gear that where you're really talented, but then you also have to, have the work and hustle mentality of a peasant or a pauper. So it's this really interesting dynamic I think you have to keep about yourself. So just try it, do it, make mistakes. Because, the more times you fail, you're just like, okay, I failed, whatever, who cares? You know what I'm saying? And you keep it moving. But it's a constant, dialogue with yourself. And I think that the more you keep, with acting, the more you keep the dialogue about yourself beautiful and positive, the better. And that comes with diet. That comes like the way you eat. That comes with, staying hydrated. Somebody was talking about water. It sounds crazy, but you want to do everything that you can to keep the beautiful voices happening in your head, because this industry is a lot like politics. There's no other industry that, that can break somebody's spirit like it can. That's why you see a lot of people commit suicide and things like that, because it's the only industry that tells you you're too fat. Sorry, you're too black. You're too woman. You're too short. You're too this. So your insecurities are going to be put to a test in a way that doesn't happen when they may say you don't want to work here, but then it'll be behind closed doors. They'll be like, damn, she ugly. I didn't want her up in here. You're innocent. But they'll say that to your face here. You'll get the break. I get breakdowns all the time that say we need big, black, really tall. And I'm not really tall. And, I'm in shape, but but if I hadn't dealt with that issue, if I didn't have confidence in myself, that kind of stuff would break me down, especially when it's perceived that, tall men is what's attractive. You know what I'm saying? I got to have that gear where I go, no, that's not the only thing that is attractive. So I'm going to go up in here and rock out regardless. You know what I'm saying? So it's got to be that conversation inside yourself, and then just doing it, because the more you do it, the more positive validation you're going to get, and, you'll be dope.
So in the age where a lot of people are kind of taking an adjacent way to Hollywood through reality shows or being found on YouTube, what are some things that maybe we can take back to a lot of our participants who are interested into like doing music and being in the entertainment field that we can instill in them on our own that would help them be successful on that path? Because a lot of them are trying, they don't have the tools to just go and live in Hollywood and get that one-way ticket and do things. So like you said, get known and have people want to hear you here. So like if they decided to start a podcast or if they started a YouTube channel or something like that, what are some key things that they can kind of start doing now that we can continue to coach them on?
Let me go ahead and just crush that narrative right now. See, they tell y'all about the 5 people that got on like that. I would ask y'all. So they say the people that got discovered on YouTube, you would say what? Issa Rae for Diary of an Awkward Black Woman. Can y'all name anybody else?
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, that's 2. He a singer. And he was a kid.
Mostly the singers, yeah.
Yeah, so mostly the singers. So the reason why I brought that up is because they like to tell everybody about these like 5 stories as if there aren't. Everybody has a podcast. Everybody's on YouTube. Everybody's got a SoundCloud. Everybody's pitching a show. Everybody has this and that thing. So I think you have to have that in your head. Not saying you can't use that avenue, but and we're not even talking about just in America. I mean, this is like music and entertainment is an international game. Like we were just talking about people in London. Like those people are coming over here. You got people from, China, Hong Kong, Australia. Every show that I've been on has been, Rectified. The entire cast was from another part of the country. So I think that you have to be dope at what you're doing, and you have to know if this is what you are really trying to do, because the road forward is a difficult road. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and pretend that it's not difficult or any of those kinds of things. But if you hear that it's difficult, if you hear someone saying it's difficult and then you get discouraged, maybe this ain't the game for you. Because, for example, if I was to flip this to basketball and somebody was 14 and I told them, yo, making it to the NBA is really difficult, everybody would go, yeah, you're right. There's kind of only 200 of them. There's like 250 of them that are in the NBA, right? So same thing in the NFL. It's very difficult to get to get to that place. I think that you have to have a fresh perspective. I think you need to be trained at whatever you're doing. Like, for example, if you're a composer, you should be able to, in the same way that a basketball player should be able to talk about LeBron and Bill Russell and all these, the history of the game and all that. I should be able to say James Homer to you, and you know exactly who I'm talking about. You should be, so that you can, use those influences on your work. Same thing if you want to be an actor. There's like, how many actors I would talk to and they had never heard of August Wilson before and telling me that they want to be an actor. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up. I remember when I was on Harry's Law and I had to do a scene and the director came up to me. He said, "This is Joe Pesci from Casino." And I was like, thank God I've seen Casino and I know who Joe Pesci is. So I know exactly what he's going for. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that the students, you need to know if this is the path you want to go down in a true, genuine, self-aware way. That's the first thing. The second thing is be dope. Try to get as much training as you can. Obviously, everybody can't go to Yale, NYU, UCSD, and those kinds of places. But there's Portland Theater I'm forgetting what the theater company is downtown and downtown Portland. I'm blanking on it. But there's a big theater company there. Oregon Shakespeare Festival is just down the road. They shoot a lot of TV shows. I know that they shot Leverage up there in Portland, where you might be able to get on as an extra and be able to meet and mingle in that regard. But you got to put your stuff on tape. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg situation. If you don't got no beats, if you don't got no reel, then nobody's going to want to hire you unless they know, because there's no way for them to know your work. So you have to figure out a way and be inventive. And then that's where you can use the internet to your advantage, because you might be able to, like I said, if you're on Mandy, if you're on Production Hub, you might be able to apply for a gig, a student film, for example. Let's say you apply for a student film that's in Florida, and then that gives you more material. That gives you more things to do. There might be some productions that you can do while you're in LA or in a place like Portland. But also, if you're going to go the podcast route, if you're going to have any of those things, it needs to be a fresh perspective. And I see a lot of people moving, like they move on it, like make sure everything is fresh, so that when you do, like again, Issa Rae's thing was fantastic. It was great. So that when people got eyes on it, they said, there's a reason why this stands out over the, millions of things on YouTube. There's millions of things out there. There's millions of, stuff on things on SoundCloud. And I guess, and of course it's hard, but you just kind of have to just do. You got to make your short film. You got to find some people that need actors. And, if you got a job, you got to try to figure out how you can, put some stuff on wax. And if you, and any opportunity you can to get trained up. And I think that, watch as much TV as you can. Watch as many shows as you can. I was just coaching the actors here earlier today, or a few days ago. We're working on an audition, and a young black lady, and so you make references to. I was like, oh, you could do this like Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. Oh, I ain't never seen that. Okay, so I'm referencing Kimmy Schmidt and some of these other people, and it's like, wait, what kind of comedy does Christina Wig do? And I'm like, see, that's what I mean. Like, you're watching this, you watch the TV as a consumer, but you're not watching it as a professional. And, tons of people, I'll say, well, oh my God, I remember when I watched Dunkirk a couple years ago, and I was telling people it was going to get nominated for Oscars, and people are like, why? And I was like, because the sound design is fantastic. I mean, because there's so many things that go into this game, so that if the more even speaking to the young actress, when I was on NCIS, there was a moment where the Steadicam, it like dips down, gets the gets the bag of money and then comes up like this to me. And so when it dips down, I stop moving because I'm waiting for the camera to come up. That, you know, those things by studying the craft and learning how to dance on set. And I remember the people came up, he was like, yo, man, that was great. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, because you understand that there's a lot that goes into this media or this medium instead of just, you know, learning lines and being cute and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's hard because there is no roadmap. Like, any way it could work. Like, you could go the academic route. You could go the podcast, YouTube route. You can go social media route. But I put it like this. There's tons, like, there's so many comedians on Instagram now, right? And some of them got millions of followers. That don't mean they own some TV shows. I can name like 4 right now that's coming to my head where I'm like, got 5 million followers. They're a co-star on a TV show. And the co-star is below the guest star. Them people with one line and stuff like that. That's a co-star. So it goes from extra, day player, co-star, guest star, special guest star, then series regular. So, you know. So just because you're on the internet and you got 1 million followers, that don't mean you're about to be a star either. You're just a person on Instagram that got a bunch of followers until, I guess, Instagram is closed like MySpace was. I don't know when it's going to be. Maybe it'll be 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10, but then you're going to have to restart it on something else. So, you know.
More of a personal question for you, if you don't mind. I know you've dealt with recent, your family being touched by violence within the last year. How does that impact you being far away from home and far away from your family? I know you're not too far because you're just kind of downstairs, so to speak, but
I like downstairs.
But being someone that from your family, I think you're probably one of the ones that's like away all the time. And you're still being touched by, you know, violence. Can you touch on that maybe? Because a lot of our youth are usually gang impacted at some point in their life and experience very similar things. We've recently had, her family may have been attached to POIC, but a young lady who just graduated who was shot and murdered last Friday in the middle of the day over Violence Park. And so it's a reality for a lot of our participants. And so just for them to know that someone like you and with your credentials also is affected by these kind of things. Can you touch on that a little?
It's really hard, of course. It's tragic, and it shows we're all human beings inside the same boat because, you know, everybody's being touched by tragedy. I mean, when you talk about George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, I mean, you go down the list, and those people aren't, you know, in my family, but they're a part of the overall human family. And so you never know which story is going to get national attention or anything like that. So I think you have to handle it with as much grace as you can. But just as an artist, the only thing that I think you can do outside of supporting your family and, you know, trying to be as steadfast as you can is being a beacon for another path or another direction. And so that was something that was instilled in me ever since I was, you know, in middle school, having been in the Perspective Gents Club and Upward Bound, all these things. You know, it's difficult to sever ties with certain kinds of people, but if you want to go a certain place on this planet, that's what you got to do. You know, you can't take everybody with you. And, you know, there's a lot of people in my family that I don't talk to that much. You know, I'll see they, you know, tried to call me on Facebook. I'm not really sure why they using a Facebook call, but I'll see it in the spam. And I'm like, that conversation is not going to be happening because, you know, can't be no squares in a circle. A lot of times people think they can have their feet in 2 different pots. And you really can't because, you know, one is boiling and one is cold and you're going to, you know, it's not going to work out for you. So, you know, come back up. For me, go back to Portland and support as much as I can. But it's hard. Like, we're a nation in crisis right now. And, you know, and that has a lot of different forms. I see somebody's got Obama right there. So, you know, we're wrestling with who we are. And I think that there's a national conversation about that, but also on a personal level, again, self-awareness. Who are you? What is it do you want to contribute to this planet as from a career vocation standpoint, from a personal standpoint. And that's how I personally deal with, those things. Where again, like I said, somebody like me, given where I come from, given who my family is, I have no artists in my family. Ain't nobody rich. My dad was working at the bread factory, Raven Creamery on MLK before it got shut down. You feel me? Wasn't nobody, I come from a working class family. So I always say, I wasn't supposed to be, I'm not supposed to be here, wasn't supposed to be here, any of those kind of things. But you can take control of your destiny. You can take control of your fate, whatever it is you want to call it. So I felt like I've, through spiritual and internal strength, moved my telescope, so to speak, to a different path, and people can see and do different things. So, anybody that's on here that has those ties and has those things, I mean, ain't no time like the present to let stuff go and make a new decision. So again, so that in your respective situation and your family, you can be a beacon of light to something better, so that those things can stop happening. Like a lot of times in our communities, we celebrate this stuff as if like it's fresh to be from a war-torn place. Like that's not fresh. Like that's just not cool. Like even as an actor, you know how many times like every so many shows come out that are we shooting each other, we killing each other, we doing all this other kind of stuff, and we celebrate it as if that's what's manly or womanly and all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, yes, that can be one story, but like shit, I want to be an archaeologist, man. Like shit, I like dinosaurs, yo. Like I like other stuff, and I'm sure there's so many other people that have that same thing that inside of them, and you don't have to, So you can come from a family that's got those kind of gang ties and say, no, I'm good. I'm gonna go study dinosaurs. And anybody who don't want to come, y'all can go do that. And then they'll be doing a podcast or a webinar 5-10 years down the road from Montana where they done found some new bones. And then somebody be asking them and say, look, because I got tired of all that foolishness, man. You know what I'm saying? And then other people in their family will applaud them and again, follow them or walk hand in hand with them down that new path. So that's kind of how, like I said, I handle things.
That segue a little bit into how important is your support system that you have, and is it different out there versus your support system that's here?
Yeah, I got my support system is worldwide, to be honest with you, and that's where technology is a beautiful thing. Because if FaceTime and WhatsApp and all that didn't exist, I would feel a lot more isolated than I do here in LA, because I'm here, by myself for the most part. But I talk to my mom every day. She's my best friend. My friend Patrick out in New Jersey. I got a lot of friends here that I'm able to talk to and kick it with. My therapist, I think therapy is very important. I just recently went through that. Meditation. So I think you have to have a routine that you can keep yourself steadfast. There's a great quote from 12 Years a Slave. Like that's another movie came out. The Brits did. So man, and then I'm watching like, damn, this is good. This is better than all these damn slave movies we be doing. Shit. Yeah. Nate Parker just was fucking up. The old TV slave movie he did. Shit. And anyway, then people telling you you're hating, like, wait, yeah. And I said, look, it looks like a TV movie on Lifetime. And then 12 Years a Slave comes out, and I'm like, see, this is what's supposed to happen. Anyway, that's also based off a book. People, you need to read books. It's another thing if you're going to be an artist. You need to read motherfucking books. And I'm saying motherfucking on purpose, because sometimes if you don't talk reckless to people, they'll be like, oh, books are boring. No, you need to read these motherfucking books, man. There's too many stupid people out here, and they are profiting off your stupidity, okay? They know that you don't know shit, but they will tell you that you know shit just to make you feel good and then be like, those niggas don't know nothing. Anyway, there's a quote in 12 Years a Slave that I absolutely love. I might get it tattooed on me, but it says, I will not give in to despair. I will keep myself resolute until freedom is opportune. That is one of my favorite quotes. And if that brother, under those circumstances, can say that, we can accomplish anything. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Anybody else? Why everybody so quiet? What's going on?
You got
They're
them on
scared
mute.
of him. They're scared of him.
Take them off mute. All 13 participants.
Okay, everybody unmute yourself and we're gonna interact.
Yeah, I can interact with a black screen. Trust me. I didn't work with green screen before where you got a fake dinosaur and stuff up there. You like all that. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
I have one question. Earlier you talked about how looks can be deceiving, salary-wise, right? So, what is the reality for someone starting out? I know LA is not cheap to live in, so what are some words of advice you would give to anyone going into that?
Oh, brother, if they want you, they gonna find you. That's one thing I learned out here. You know, you be auditioning for stuff and you be wondering like, oh my God, are they gonna call? Trust me, you could be on an expedition in Antarctica and a penguin will roll up on you with a cell phone and say, hey, listen, we loved your audition. You need to get back to LA or wherever right now. Okay. If they really like you, they'll fly you down from Portland. People do this all the time. Many actors live in all different kinds of places. So I would say, like I said, do audition as much as you can from Portland. You can put yourself on tape. I mean, shoot. I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, what? Underground was shot in Louisiana and Georgia, Chicago PD in Chicago. I just put myself on tape, and the next thing you know, they're flying you out first class. And so, you know, you want to make sure that you have, I think lawyers are very important. I've learned the value of that. I was getting underpaid my first couple shows, but didn't know it. And that goes back to education and having some kind of, because not only is this an art, it's a business. You have to know, kind of what the market is, but also one of the worst parts of our business that you can kind of see playing out in the NBA and NFL is they're realizing, wait a second, even though they're the owners, we are the workforce. People are paying to see us. That's another part of the conversation people are having right now, where now workers are going like, wait a second. And as actors, we're just now starting to talk. So now I know what you're making on the show so that then I can go, wait, but they only paid me whatever. But then also, like I said, when somebody comes to you and says, hey, we're going to give you 20,000 an episode, you go, oh, shit, sign the dotted line right now. And they probably like, yeah, sign the dotted line. We could have paid you 35. Mm. You see what I'm saying? But you got real excited because you was on poor people time. You know what I'm saying? So you need to know your value and all that kind of stuff. But then also you need to know, like on True Blood, you got to know that they will give this to somebody else. And there's a big time show, so sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut. But everybody's negotiations is different. It depends on the network. Sometimes, if you're a series regular, things like that, you can make 10, 15, and that's on small networks. When you're doing a big network show, NBC, they might start you off at like 23, 21, 22 if you that new person that they just signed. But a lot of stuff comes into play during those negotiations. But then also too, the thing with the money down here is you can get a large sum of money in a real quick amount of time. But then do you know how to manage it? Because for example, I was on Brain Dead. I was a series regular on Brain Dead in 2016. And it's all great to be like, oh my gosh, like shit's about to pop off. I just did Underground, just did this and that. And then you know what happened? Worst case scenario, I haven't done a big show since 2016. People don't like to hear that kind of stuff, but it's real. So you got to know how to manage that big sum of money. Did you go get a big car? Did you go do all this stuff? And so I've seen people go broke out here because they don't know how to manage the peaks and the valleys. You know what I'm saying? It's a marathon, it's a process. So, you just want to make sure you have people that know about money or you know about money. Make sure you're not getting ripped off. Make sure, if you're doing contracts, you know what plus 10 and plus 20 means. And if they paying your percentage, if they not, you need to read the contracts, all that kind of stuff. I remember when I found out what in perpetuity meant. I said, that sounds like that's a big word. I don't know what that means. That's forever. Wait, they want to own this forever? Oh, hell no, I can't sign that. See what I'm saying? When somebody tried to buy one of my short films, it was one of the subsidiaries of Blumhouse. And I said, wait, forever? Was it how? Ain't that Cardi B thing forever? Oh, hell no, I can't be doing that. Nah, it's not that. It's not worth it. So, you know what I'm saying? But you just gotta make sure you know about the money so that you don't get ripped off, and you're getting your value. Because it sucks to look back and be like, wait a second, so my agents, I could have got
Yeah, it's like that Walter Mercado documentary. I don't know if you saw, but the whole conflict in that documentary is he signed off his name. He couldn't use it for 6 years, and they owned everything in perpetuity. So from 2001 to 2006, he couldn't make a show.
See, you know that word. See, you learn that from reading books.
So, Johnny, with George Floyd, the upcoming election, and celebrities and activism, can you touch on what is it like being Johnny and able to kind of be at liberty to be an activist in your own right, but then a lot of us have been seeing stars that we look up to or we admire who are not as vocal on things that we think they are? And where do you think the balance comes from and the shift?
I say fuck them. I'm gonna say this until I die. I got films that I want to do about it. I am not for the celebrity worship. That's one of the biggest problems. We look at these people and we put them on a pedestal. I mean, you seen what just happened with Jada. Everybody talking about I want a Jada Will relationship. Come to find out they got problems just like everybody else. And she's saying wild stuff like entanglements. And we like, what the hell is that? I didn't know you could say that to somebody. Oh, you understand what I'm trying to say? So we are this country, all of us. We being informed, motivated citizens, and they want us to be not motivated. They want us to fear the government and our institutions so that they can fail and make them a lot of money. So, I mean, when you have people that are so insidious that they can tell you that the coronavirus or COVID-19 is fake, but then those same individuals behind closed doors are pulling their money out of certain stocks so they can get paid because they know it's real, that lets you know the game that they're playing. You understand what I'm saying? So this idea that we need Cardi B or we need Kanye or these people, they're just people. What we need are you, me, everybody on this chat, you to talk to your family and friends, be informed about what's going on in your respective communities. I mean, my Lord, I think when I was protesting out here, one of the greatest things that I finally started seeing is people realizing that they need to vote for the mayor and the city council and the police chiefs and all this stuff. Because before it's, I'm not going to vote. What's that going to do for me? I'm like, all y'all fools smoking weed, we kind of voted, and that's how you guys got to do that. 66,000 people got their records expunged in California because we voted. So while you're trying to be cool and talk to your friends and act like you woke, you haven't read no books. You might be able to get away with that shit with other people. But people that actually know what's happening, they don't want you to participate, because when we participate, they lose. We have a very small minority of people running the country, and it's very unfortunate because it's unfortunate for women and people of color. Because, you know, and that's in a lot of fields, whether it's economically, whether it's with police brutality and the criminal justice system. But, you know, that's why hopefully I think it's is it Eugene that doesn't have a police force to where they bring out the medical professionals? I think it's Eugene, Oregon. But I grew up in Oregon, didn't even know that was a thing.
Right.
I had to go to London to figure that to know that was a thing. When they were like, you know, the police don't show up. I said, the police don't got guns. I had never even thought of that. So when you educate yourself, again, I will always say this. And a lot of times with celebrities and athletes and stuff like that, I only want them to use their platform when they're an informed citizen. Because when you have athletes saying stuff like the earth is flat, now we got all your Twitter followers are saying the earth is flat too. Now we got to figure out, now we got to re-educate people on some stuff people with no internet and sticks and rocks figured out centuries and centuries ago. So I don't look at these celebrities, and I think a lot of times people are doing it for branding nowadays, where, you know, they want to be first in line, they want to be getting beat up so that they can get bailed out of jail real quick, and then everybody can label them an activist and all sort of kind of stuff. I want to see boots on the ground. When it comes to me, I want to see these celebrities putting, you know, their resources where their mouths are. They could have been in, you know, Kentucky helping, you know, Charles Booker, you know, try to win so that he can beat Mitch McConnell. Like, we need people that are informed. Again, I'm gonna keep saying it, and it's hard because we're in California or Oregon, California, Oregon, you know, a lot of things are liberal and all that other kind of stuff. But we see what happens in Portland. You know, I remember in high school, my friend got shot in the back with a shotgun over there on 42nd by the police. You know, I know that the reality of being, you know, black and brown in these communities. So you can vote and be a part of the grassroots push to change things. I mean, hell, I've been on all these TV shows. I lost my health insurance, man. So, you know, these are things that for me, a lot of celebrities and stuff don't talk about those times. It's easy to talk about red carpets and all that other kind of stuff. But then you go, man, I done made all this money, but this year I didn't make no money, but now I done lost my health insurance. Yet they tell you that we have to have a, you know, for-profit healthcare system insurance. I'm like, what about all that money I made before? You understand what I'm saying? So these are realities that we all are dealing with in multiple nuances. Because of course, you know, nationally it's one thing, but folks have got to be active and engaged, especially young people, man. I don't know how old the people are here, you know, that are you know, that are on the call with us, but folks need to be engaged. This is our time. Like, I hope that I look back in 40, 50 years and see that we really, you know, again, took control of our destiny and shifted it a different direction. Because we don't have to live like this. Especially, like I said, you go to other countries, they say America's the greatest place on the planet. I didn't travel. And you go, wait a second. They is lying to me. They is lying. I remember I'll never forget, I saw Mos Def. I saw him on a documentary, and he was talking about, he was, you know, long story short, he did a tour in Japan and China and stuff. And he said when he came back to America, he said it felt like he went back in time to like the 1800s or something. And, you know, as somebody who hadn't been where he had been yet, I was like, what is he talking about? Then I went over there and I said, oh my, their train is run by electricity from people's feet just stepping onto the train. I didn't know you could do that. You know what I'm saying? You start looking at this. I'm like, oh my God, when you get off I was in Hong Kong, and the girl I was dating at the time, we had to get my bag on the flight. You know how we got to get there 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours ahead. We went to the middle of the city, and like at the train station, they had these little kiosks said Delta, all sorts of stuff. And she was like, yeah, you just put your bag right here. And I was like, so my bag is going, the airport is 15, 20 miles away. I ain't see my bag until I got back in LA. So you see this infrastructure, you see these other things, you see the different philosophies on the way people live. I mean, in New Zealand, when they shot up that mosque, they didn't have these stupid debates we be having about you gonna take over the government with your guns. You know how stupid that is? I tell people all the time, I don't have these pages. I say, you stupid if you think that you and your 25 friends are gonna get y'all guns and stuff and take over the government. These are the same people, usually, that say the military is, we have the greatest military in the world. Don't they say that, right? So think about, connect the dots, like they used to tell me in the gym. How can you and your 25 friends overthrow the greatest military in the world? That don't make no sense. We literally landed airplanes in Pakistan when they killed Osama bin Laden. Nobody even knew they were there. Somebody tweeted and said, that'd be like you being in Beaverton, leaving the Nike factory and being like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? Boom, boom, cow, folks is dead, the planes is gone. That is our capabilities, okay? So the fact that we can't solve some of these problems, I think a lot of times it comes from a lack of awareness and a lack of education about how other people live. And you're like, man, what happened in Newtown? What happened in some of these places? Like, we can change this. And it takes, again, motivated, educated, informed citizens doing their part and not allowing these people to make us so jaded that we sit back in our kitchens and all that stuff and just let them take over and let them, do what they're trying to do. Because the vast majority of us are peace-loving, beautiful individuals that just want to, be happy and, explore our careers. And it shouldn't be this difficult.
Do you have your top 3 books that you would tell maybe every person you come in contact with to read?
Or I think
would help anybody.
Letters to a Young Poet by Rainier Maria Rauch. I think that's a book that every artist should read. What else? Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. There's another one that just came to my mind. The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, Mitch Albom, another great one. And the People's History of the United States. George Zinn. I'm rereading that right now. Whew, man. So there's so much material. It's hard with books, man. It's hard because there's so many. It's like asking my favorite movies. It depends on, or what movies I think are so important. But especially as an artist, you can get caught up with this LA life, this Hollywood life. And I had a moment, a couple months, I was like, I hadn't read a book in like a long time. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't just be reading scripts, because that's where you can get a lot of your ideas. Like, I just finished Lord of the Rings. I didn't want to be one of those dudes that just, you come to my house and it's like all these books on my shelf. And you're like, oh man, this guy reads. I'm like, I ain't read none of these books. I've seen the movies and I can pretend like I read the books, but I didn't. So that was my mission to myself at the start of COVID. I said, this is a book that I could easily give up on because I can just say I watched the movies, and I finished it, all 1,000 pages. And now I understand where Game of Thrones came from. I understand where all these other points of literature have come from, because, Lord of the Rings kind of started everything out. So it was education as an artist. And again, you learn, it just gives you that maturation. So you have more things to pull from in your work, whether that's as an actor, as a director, as a composer, or whatever else. So the more things you have to, watching anime, watching things from different perspectives, watching the way people tell stories. I mean, even in the George Zinn book, I remember they were in the first 2 chapters, they talk about the Iroquois Native Americans and how the Europeans were writing that these people had a society where women and men were 100% equal. And it's almost hard to fathom, because it shows you how much of a Western society we all live in, where they said there was no, if I'm quoting it right, they said there was no pauper or merchant, because like they didn't have the concept of business the way that we have it. You understand what I'm trying to say? So the more you read, the more you experience, you say, oh, wow, I didn't know that was possible. Same way with marijuana and stuff. People are like, I remember growing up with my mom and stuff, you think it's this thing, and then you come to find out, oh, I didn't know that it was like that. So you have to do more. Yeah, you have to do as much as you can to keep you, constantly growing and changing. That's one thing that always makes me sad. My dad says, he always goes, I'm just, just an old man now, you feel me? So I just, as my time has passed. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're like in your 50s, man. You could be here like another 40 years, bro. You could be here another 50, 60 years. Like, wake up, bro. Wake up. You could go be a chef if you wanted to. You could I don't know, be a personal trainer, be whatever you wanted to be. But it's that mind thing that you have to, it's this, one of my favorite quotes, Steve Biko, the most potent weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So that's really what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, like you started, talks about confidence. It's up here. Everything is here. And it's easy to get these and the vanity stuff. Everybody always talks about all these other muscles, whether they're sexual, whether it's the abs, whether it's the, all this other stuff. Nobody talks about the brain. And a lot of times people out here be weak-minded. You know what I'm saying? So you got to exercise this bad boy.
Well, bro, I'm gonna come back to the Chicago PD because I have to, because it's a show I really love. Eric is an actor, now director, producer, someone I followed for a long time, since his days of ER particularly. For sure. But the time you've been on there, you guys, you've been acting in. Your shows have been really speaking to a lot of things that are happening now. And I sent something to the brother before saying the way they ended this this recent season, man, it's right there. So it's I have to go to another meeting, but I wanted to, I got a break. But I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to meet with you and let you know that, yeah, I've seen your work. Your work is impactful. It's good to know you're a brother from Portland, and you're open, and you speak with such openness and with knowledge, not just talking the sound good, And you're not giving us those phony accents that some of us get once we get somewhere, right?
Hello, how you doing, everyone? My name is Johnny Ray. So nice to meet all of you. And I'd be like, bro, like Lupita be doing that, and I'd be like, Lupita, you know, listen, you was in America, you've been in America a long time, okay?
Right.
You know what you're doing. Stop with all that.
Yeah, for sure. But I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your work. Dog, I hate. I gotta leave because I gotta get over to this meeting for because I'm a case manager with POIC. I'll be looking more for your work, and I'll take advantage of some of the things that you offered me specifically that I can take with me.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. And I'm easy to find. I'm easy to find on you know, socials and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to reach out to me, holla at me.
No doubt, my guy. I appreciate you. And thank you all for allowing me to talk as much as I'm talking. I'm sorry for taking up people's time. Peace out.
Peace. Jay Sean Sparrow. That sounds like a famous person.
Johnny, yeah, we know his mom.
Okay.
So what, just like words of encouragement for the young people who are being shy, and we have a few people who are just listening because they're in meetings. So what are some words of encouragement or last words that you would like to share with everyone that they can take with them?
Be kind to yourself. It can be a difficult road, but you got to enjoy the process. And I think that's the best thing to do. You can't focus on the results and the end road. You know, like if you were walking through the Amazon rainforest, you would take a moment to stop and look at the flowers and the ants and everything that's passing you by. And so that's the beautiful part of this game. That's a beautiful part of life in general. You know, stay close to your family, stay close to your support systems, because, you know, everything, you know, a lot of the stuff, the vast majority of the stuff they show you on TV that is reality about this game is not a reality. You know, when I watch Love and Hip Hop and all that stuff, I'd be laughing because I'd be like, I'm like, that's definitely ADR. I can tell they didn't say that on set. Like they're okay. That person's the extra. That person's this. So, you know, Hollywood Boulevard does not look like that. There's a bum on that corner. That definitely took a dump. So like a lot of it is, you know, that. But like I said, I think the words of encouragement, like I said, be kind to yourself. You're gonna fail. You're gonna do some things that you're gonna say that's not the right thing, and it's fine. But then also be kind to yourself when you succeed, because sometimes people don't know how to succeed. They don't know how to handle it. You know, they get an oversized ego. They, you know, spend too much money. They do all this other kind of stuff. There's a great poem that's one of my favorites. You can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. So, you know, you don't want to be too up or too down, but it's like we live on a beautiful planet. Try to see it as much as you can. Enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the rain. And like I said, build yourself up. Build up your mental fortitude, your physical fortitude, because if your body and mind feel good, you're going to feel good. It's no coincidence. Like I said, it all works. And so for me, when I'm on a show, when I'm doing stuff and I feel like everything is moving right with my synergy and stuff, everything from a spiritual, eternal, you know, what I'm eating, and kind of, you're like, no wonder I feel good. I ain't been eating them Oreos. Shoot, I was all gassy and was having runs and stuff. And now I'm like, dude. And then I'm okay. I'm good. So, you know, you got to treat yourself the best that you can treat yourself. And if you know that you need something, like I said, if you need help, if you need to cry on somebody's shoulder, you need to laugh, go get that. Don't try to, you know, muscle everything and do everything yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think, that's why I mentioned therapy. You know what I'm saying? I had never done it before, and I'm like, oh, wow, that felt really good. Maybe I should have tried that a little earlier. You know what I'm saying? Because you just want to have people to talk to. We are the human species. We're communal. We want to have interaction. We want to, you know, be surrounded by each other. So, you know, just love and vote, and, you know, and vote and vote and love and vote.
Most definitely. I want to personally thank you for taking time out of your day and your week to share with my coworkers and our participants. And I hope we can work together again soon. And
Cheers.
I'm here in Portland. Hit us all up.
Don't do. Peace, guys. Really appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great day. And yeah, I'll see you in the funny papers.
All righty. Have a good day, everybody.
All right.
Bye.